couple times because I'm dealing with shit.
Okay. So, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Stand Your Ground Saturday here on the Ohio Patriot Education Network YouTube channel. I'm, as always, your host, the Early Ohio Patriot. We are obviously joined by Leo Red and Corey. We were literally talking about ammo and whatnot in the back chat here. And this is one thing that actually led something to me think. I was watching something the other day where it was the old 90s shows and stuff like that, like the old 90s sitcoms. And I feel like Hollywood lied to me because they kept telling me as a child that I could just go to somebody's car trunk and buy a gun and some ammo with it, and there would be no problems at all.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's, obviously a lie because that's illegal as fuck in all 50 states to do that kind of stuff, unless, of course, you live in a state that actually does have private sales and you're not having to deal, and you're obviously, dealing with a private seller. But yeah, most of these states now, they want all ammo sales recorded with FFLs and stuff like that. Now they're trying to make people become FFLs and stuff like that if they sell X amount of guns a year, which is absolutely ridiculous in itself. So anyway.
Did y'all see that monstrosity that X Adam 1 posted in gun discussion on Matt's Discord?
I did not yet. I will go to it in a couple minutes.
That thing's fucking ugly. It's like the predecessor of High Point or some shit. I don't know.
But is it a gun that he owns or something he got off the internet?
No, it appears that he owns it. He was talking about he bought something new. Like the pinnacle of collection.
Okay, let's go. See if I can find this real quick. So it was in gun discussions? Okay, let's see.
Yeah, gun discussion.
Alright, that's a bunch of 9mm or 45. Oh yeah, it does look like the That's weird.
He said it's a Maverick something or another.
Yeah, that looks strange as shit, honestly. It almost looks like a 3D printed High Point.
Yeah.
Wow.
Let's see. Granddaddy of High Point, a Maverick Firearms JS 9mm, manufacturing by Sterold Arms. So yeah, it's the so this would have been the 1980s then when this was produced, probably, or late 70s even, maybe, for that matter. That looks wild.
Wow.
That thing has like no sights at all on it. That just looks bad. That just looks bad. Like I said,
you know what? It's so ugly. It is a showpiece.
Yeah, it's so ugly. It's
a
kind of
wall
cool.
hanger.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking too. It's so ugly. It is kind of cool.
Yeah, that thing definitely is some weird looking shit, though. That's for sure.
And it looks heavy as crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he said something about it sucked or something, or it was the heaviest something. Slide pull. I can't remember.
I mean, it makes sense logically speaking, given the fact that you have it being a double predecessor basically to what is now High Point Firearms. So, yeah, I could easily see that being just like a giant brick in your hand. Because the thing is, even with High Points, you have to literally go and find special holsters for them. Because not every company makes a holster that will fit that gun because it is such a goddamn brick. That being said, it can actually take a bullet, as Demolition Ranch has shown in the past, and still function.
Yeah. I remember years ago, I came across this one guy on YouTube. And he was, I don't remember if he was a security guard or like a bounty hunter. I don't remember exactly what it was, but his carry choice was a fucking High Point.
No, I think I've seen a picture of something like that. And people were making memes out of it.
I remember the one gangbanger guy talking about a Glock 40.
Oh, yeah. I remember. Yeah, this is my Glock pulls out a High Point.
Yeah, my cop killer.
Yeah, okay, buddy.
That's so bad. But anyway.
Yeah, but I would like to own the High Point carbine.
Yeah. There's a couple different ones that are pretty good. I mean, they got the 9mm, they got the 45, or they got a 10mm. I think there's another one too that they make. I don't know if they make it 40 or not.
They got a 380. Right?
Yeah,
it's a 380.
Yeah.
I had the 45.
I don't think they make it 40.
And I liked it. It was good. It was kind of heavy and kind of ugly, but it worked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think they might have a 40 though too. I think so.
They may now, actually. I don't know.
Sure.
It's been so long. And that's the one thing. I know people were giving them a lot of shit for, being the Nazi Eat Cannon. What was it, like 2019 or so? And then they didn't bring it out for a long time. And the thing is, it's like, you can't really blame them 100% as a company when we were living under 442 days of tyranny here in Ohio with dumbass DeWine announcing lockdowns and stuff, and then not lifting them until like a year and a half later. And during that entire time, the people at High Point literally had to do like a 25% capacity of workers there. So, yeah, it makes sense that it took them so much longer to get that out of production and stuff like that.
Right.
Which is absolutely ridiculous in itself. It should have never taken that long, even with those shutdowns, lockdowns, we're going to call them there. But unfortunately, again, that's what happens when you allow government tyranny to reign free and don't do anything about it. And then, of course, you got dumbasses in other states deciding it's a good idea to jump in on politics relating to my state. And I specifically bring that up because it's your governor, Leo, that is trying to get people to vote yes on issue 1 on Tuesday. And it's like, bro, why the hell are you trying to do anything with Ohio when you're the governor of Illinois? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me at all. So
right, and our senator is trying to stop the ceasefire in Israel. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, they're all a bunch of
because that's where the focus really needs to be, right?
Right.
Actually, one of the things I thought was pretty hilarious today, and this is something I was looking up earlier when I was getting ready for the show here. Went to X here and found this interesting story, which was an American and Canadian militant Antifa activist who attended the London Palestine protest called Billboard Chris a fascist for opposing transitioning kids. The Antifa member tries to then rally Muslim women to his cause, but they also disagree with his bullshit.
Oops.
I can't help but laugh about the irony, man, because it's like, oh yeah, you should totally agree with me on this thing. And they're like, no.
No. That's crazy how leftists try to put themselves in a cause. It's like it's kind of like oil and water.
Mm-hmm.
With Islam and leftism. It's not going to mix.
No. Never will, never has.
Yeah, it's fucking stupid.
Yeah, people are just retarded. Which brings me to the next story I kind of wanted to talk about here, and this is something I was looking at a little bit ago, which is you got dipshit Obama coming out of the woodwork to say, all of us are complacent to some degree in occupation and Hamas terror. Motherfucker, you literally created the shit. You were 100% complacent in it. Nobody else is.
That's your baby, bitch.
Yeah, exactly. So Obama told his former staffers at the Pod Save America Saturday that, quote, all of us are complicit to some degree in the violence in Gaza, as he appeared to describe a moral equivalency between Hamas murdering Israelites and Israel occupying Gaza. Jesus. What a complete fucking ass clown.
He's worthless as tits on a boar hog.
He is the worst fucking literal president we've ever had. And I say that reason why is because Biden is not legally president in this country and never will be.
True, but in the eyes of a lot of people, he is. So.
Yeah, well, it's time to stop pretending he fucking is because he's not.
I don't know. I posted some shit to Discord where, they're finding more videos and evidence of ballots being shown up in the middle of the fucking night.
Yep. And then we got this one. 7th Circuit, AR-15 is not protected by Second Amendment. Pretty sure this is Illinois Circuit Court here.
Yeah, this is our.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, they are.
Yep. Said 3-judge panel in the United States Court of Appeals, 7th Circuit, overturned an injunction against Illinois' assault ban, deciding that AR-15s are not protected under the Second Amendment, which is absolute bullshit of itself. because it goes back to the Heller ruling 2008 with common use, which they are common use. And the fact we know for a fact there's like several 100,000, if not over 1 million at this point in civilian hands. Probably more like a couple million, actually.
Any fucking gun or magazine or gun accessories is protected by the fucking Second Amendment. No matter if they're created now or going to be created in the future, they're still going to be fucking protected under the Second Amendment.
I would go as far as to say too, when you look, because obviously if you want to get into like semantics is what it is here, there are many guns out on the market right now that are definitely more common use than others. I would sit there and say Taurus is more common use than some other guns, honestly. And it's because they're sold so many times to people that are poor like myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have more Taurus out there, you have more Taurus mags out there, the 12-round capacity ones, etc. And yeah, you just have a lot more just manufactured overall is what it is there. And then meanwhile, I would say the same thing about Glock too, for that matter, because they're again been sold for, 4 decades now or something.
Yep. And they're the most
Glock mags everywhere.
They're the most they're the gun with the most aftermarket support out there.
Yeah. Exactly. You got entire companies like Lone Wolf Industries making them. They originally did aftermarket barrels and stuff like that for them, and then now they're actually making their own version of Glocks called the Lone Wolf LT9, or I think it's LT9 or LT something 9.
Yeah, something like
and
that.
It's actually a superior version of the.
It's got upgraded internals. It's got a better grip well on it, so it's not that funky angle as Glocks have.
Yeah, it's just better in every way, basically. And that's what I'm saying. If I ever bought something that was a Glock or something similar to a Glock, it would be that gun, honestly.
I have a couple Glocks.
Just for that reason. Although nowadays, you can't really beat like, PSA and the daggers and stuff like that, so.
Oh, no.
I just won't have one original Glock. Just one.
What caliber?
Out of 9 or 40. I didn't like when I was shooting the 40, when I was shooting the one at 45. I did not like it.
I've got one in all 3 calibers you just mentioned.
Yeah. There is one, and I'm trying to remember what model it is.
So I'll take 940 actually I would take 9 to 380. Since like if I had to buy the cheapest Glock, I'd go for the 380 one.
Right.
But if I had the money, I'd go for the 9mm or a 40.
I think there's other ones.
Honestly, right now, dude, you can get one for just a hair under 300 beans.
But here's
I'm talking about 40.
Our transfer fee is to the point where, goddamn, you might as well go to the shop and find a used one there.
Yeah, that's what sucks about you and where you live is because of that right there. Because the one I got in 40 after tax and shipping and transfer fees, it was still under 4.
And how much are transfer fees?
It was like $35.
See, ours is 70.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yep.
Yeah, you make an excellent point. Then at that price, you might as well just fucking get one used at a gun shop or something.
Yeah, there's a couple ones around myself that has some extortion fees like that. It's like 50 something ish. And there's a couple other ones that are only like 25 or 30. So, which truthfully, all those transfer fees should be like $15 at most.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I used to have a buddy of mine that was an old neighbor. I don't even know if he still has his FFL license or not, but he, if I wanted a gun or anything, it would just be like a $10 or $15 transfer fee.
I mean, and it also depended on the shop. But if I travel further downstate, I could probably get it cheaper. But
Yeah.
I would have to
Well,
go
we
out my
know
way instead of
Illinois
going to my
hates-
closest. Go ahead.
We know Illinois hates their fucking citizens enjoying their 2A rights.
But the thing is, I want to say it's really Illinois, but Cook County itself.
True.
I mean, granted, Illinois still hates its citizens, but as far as Cook County, it's like double. Right? It's double that of the state.
Yeah, makes sense.
Actually, it doesn't, but damn.
I mean, it does from the perspective of just like, you know, the hatred of the Second Amendment, basically.
True.
So, and unfortunately, that's what many of these people are right now. It's they hate freedom. They love control over people. I was actually watching something earlier tonight, and it was talking about FDR and aliens, and how he basically had the opportunity very early on in this country, and we're talking about when the shit happened at Roswell with all the crashes and stuff like that. He could have just straight up come out then and been like, hey, you know, there's actual alien technology that we've discovered. You know, we're obviously going to like talk about it here and, you know, discuss and everything else like that and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, aliens are real. Don't panic, please.
I don't
But
believe
instead,
that.
they've just controlled the shit.
I see what you're saying, but I don't believe in aliens.
I don't know. I feel like there's too much evidence out there to show that there
wanna
obviously is
believe.
something.
Now, I believe in illegal aliens because they're pouring across the border in droves.
Yeah, speaking of which, there was a video that popped up here of a whole bunch of fighting age males crossing our border illegally today.
Yeah, the fucking
Yay.
government. Abbott's been doing his damnedest to fucking build the wall, put up barbed wire, put floats and shit in the water to make it harder to swim across. And then the government comes down and lifts up part of the barbed wire fence so illegals could crawl underneath it and come on in. That pissed me the fuck off. I saw a video on Instagram yesterday where this guy's like, I think it was let's say November 10th, because I don't remember the actual date. November 10th, tell everybody that we're all getting together, going down to Eagle Pass and a place somewhere in Arizona and some other place in Texas, and we're going to secure the border our damn selves.
Yeah,
People are fed up.
I know I am.
But the question is, say hypothetically, if a mass drove of people did that, went down to the borders to secure themselves, would they be allowed to?
It's hard to say, man.
Or would you have like another Bundy Ranch situation?
I was going to say I'd like to say yes, but it probably would turn into some Bundy Ranch shit, honestly.
Yep.
Or at minimum, it would be something where you would have maybe like local cops there that are also part of the, you know, occupation, if you will, to deal with the illegal influx. And then you might have like feds somewhere being like, "Oh, you can't do this."
I think
that
if
might
hypothetically that happened,
there will be feds.
Yeah, the feds would be the ones stopping them. As far as the Texas government, no, because they're on board with securing our border. And I think most police along those areas are as well.
Yeah, I would like to think that as well, but who knows? I think only time would tell, honestly.
Then they will have, Then they will have to deny an order from the White House.
Yeah. Well, it would basically you get into a fight of states' rights versus federal trumping states' rights.
Well, what these sheriffs should do in all these areas, especially where they're high border crossing, is just start going to every law-abiding citizen in those areas and deputizing every fucking person, because they don't have a limit on how many deputies they can have. They just have to be ready to be called upon at any moment that the sheriff needs. Because there was a video I saw where sheriff said he would do that. He had like 10,000 plus people in his county that he
was over, and he said, if I had to, I would deputize people in mass droves so they would be covered against the tyrannical government passing these unconstitutional laws, and they can get to keep their AR-15s and their high-capacity magazines.
Yeah, I remember that. I think that was someplace in Florida, and I think
Yes.
a lot of that, unfortunately, is all for show. Because my thing is, if you're gonna say shit like that, just fucking do it, man. Just do it on the spot and be like, let's fucking get it gone, man. Kick something off, for God's sakes, you know? Like,
Yep,
stop
and
pussyfooting around, stop saber rattling, fucking just jump forward and be the first. But that's the problem. Nobody wants to be the first because they don't know if there's going to be a second or not.
I think Texas, all fucking sheriffs, because you know the PD, I don't think can do that, nor would they probably want to. But the sheriffs are a different crowd here in Texas.
Yeah,
they care more, and that's what they need to do. Go and fucking deputize as many motherfuckers as they can find.
I don't know if you guys remember the Chaz after Raz Simone took it over and became the de facto warlord of that place for like a month.
Yeah,
I'm an ally.
And then he was sitting in there, and he was like, "Hey kid, who can fire a gun?" And this kid like walks up. He's like, "You're 18, right?" He's like, "Oh yeah, here's an AR-15, bro." That's what the cops need to do, honestly. Just start handing guns to people and be like, "You're deputized. Here's your firearm."
Yeah, kind of like what Israel was doing, that video that came out where they were just fucking handing out rifles. I didn't see them hand out magazines, but they were handing out rifles.
Too little, too late.
Yeah, exactly. I think you have to come with your own magazine and your own ammo. Unless it was further down the line and they didn't show it.
Yeah. Well, there was also that after Ukraine popped off, what was it, a year and a half ago or so? And they were just handing out guns to people, but yeah, it was like all you had was like the gun and whatever was with it at the time, whether it be a mag or not.
Yeah.
And then of course you had that one guy, the famous video. It was like 4 or 5 guys standing together or whatever, and you had the one dude drop his mag out of his gun because he didn't know how to use it properly. And the other guy's just like handing it off to him.
Yeah, I remember.
Like, play it cool, bro. Play it cool. Yeah, that was that right there was like the perfect example of Zelensky being a fucking moron. Obviously, it wasn't him doing it, but it was just the whole shit show that became Ukraine then.
Right.
So, but anyway. Let's see here. Gonna grab a story here real quick. Let's see. Since we are doing a 2A chat here, let's go ahead and talk about some 2A stuff. We got bearing arms up here. House Democrats get offended over Speaker's pro-gun comment. Let's see what Johnson had to say here. Let's see. New Speaker Johnson. So a large group of Democrat lawmakers have called out new House Speaker Mike Johnson's remarks in the wake of Maine's mass shooting, in which he placed blame on people, not firearms, for the country's gun violence epidemic. Oh, you mean the people that are actually behind it then? Meaning the psychos that go on these fucking mass killing sprees? Not the guns that are inanimate objects that don't do shit without somebody pulling a fucking trigger?
Yeah. I have one that's been sitting in the corner for like, I don't know, 6 months, and then he ain't moved unless I made it move.
Yeah, it says a large group of Democrat lawmakers, we already did the part. It says 100 Democrats led by the House Gun Violence Prevention Task Force Chair, which is the bullshit thing that Biden created. Congressman Mike Thompson signed a letter to Johnson expressing their deepest concerns about your troubling comments following the devastating mass killing in Maine. Said shooting, which was the deadliest in 2023, claimed 18 lives and injured 13 other people. It's also one of the actual few mass shootings this year, not all the bullshit fucking 500 bunch of garbage they want to claim in the gun violence archives or a bunch of gangbanger bullshit. So at the end of the day, problem is let's see. At the end of the day, the problem is the human heart. It's not guns. It's not the weapons, Johnson said after the violence occurred, then advocated for Second Amendment in the next breath. So Democrats slammed this perspective, calling it, quote, factually wrong. No, that'd be your asses. And said it, quote, paints a dark view of America and its people. Gun violence in America is not inevitable. It is simply tolerated by Republican leadership and called for the passage of course, anti-gun legislation. Bullshit.
If they really cared about keeping Americans safe and ending, all this violence or whatever, they would take all the fucking gun laws off the books and take away every fucking gun-free zones.
Mm-hmm.
And say, okay, Americans, you love your Second Amendment. You want it. All bullshits aside, take care. And we would fucking, set shit right.
Yep.
Because we know these pussies only attack gun-free zones anyways because they know they're not going to have anyone to stop them or get in their way or slow them down. Resistance,
well,
yes.
Like we were saying last week, after Maine, it was either 4 or 5 different guys that tried to stop this dude, but of course all of them were unarmed. And what is unarmed people? They're targets.
Yeah, the victims.
Even the guy who was armed with a butcher's knife, like you're talking about butcher knife versus gun, it's like unless you're within that 21 feet, and even then, like you got to be able to gap that distance quick as fuck to be able to stab somebody to death that's holding a gun at your face, basically.
Yeah.
And you had to be on drugs to survive the shots for a couple more seconds and then stab.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, going back to talking about Glocks for a minute here, though. I know they have those long slide Glocks. This particular one's in 10 mil here, which honestly, if that needed to be used to like club somebody at the end of the day, you probably could.
The Glock 1911.
Yeah. Like these are definitely long enough to definitely like club somebody with them if you had to grab the slide part of it. Just use like
It's
the mag well as like a beam device.
It's definitely a short nightstick.
I tell you,
although
what
to be
they
fair,
do,
I don't know if that would be more effective or a high point though.
the high point would be heavier.
Yeah, I think it would be too.
Yep.
Even with the smaller magwell too, I think that would even work better for that matter. So.
Pictures tend to make those long slide Glocks look better than what they actually are.
Yeah, I seen a couple of them when we were passing our constitutional carry here a year or so ago, and people were talking about guns. They went to some local gun shop there in Columbus, and they had a couple of them on display and stuff like that. And that was the first time I saw one of them. I'm like, what the hell is that? Because I had no idea what it was because I'd never seen like that long ass Glock like that. I'm just like, that just looks weird as fuck.
Yeah.
And of course it was. It was weird as shit. It looked weird as shit. So, but yeah, it's an interesting display. I'll tell you that much, honestly. So, anyway, but
I hope it ain't Vivek Daniel. He's asking who do we think is going to be Trump's VP?
I don't know.
I do not like Vivek, and I do not trust him.
Yeah, he's definitely a shitty motherfucker.
I like him.
I liked him for about 10 seconds until he like basically went full Obama at that one debate.
Exactly.
He's like
he's Obama 2.0
for all the shit that he's had in the past. Where it's just like, yeah, this dude's shady as fuck. So
they're all a bit shady. So
well, they all are, yeah. But he is just too quote unquote perfect. That
right? Is he like too big pharma for you?
He's a snake in the fucking grass.
One thing.
As soon as he gets any resemblance of power like that, he's gonna fuck over everybody, and he's gonna do a complete 180, and he's gonna be the worst rhino ever.
Yep. Well, not only that, but then it's also like everything else for that matter. Like here's my thing with the guy in general. So we had a governor's race here roughly about 18 months ago, maybe a little longer than that now, when it was primary season. You had this man who at the time was completely unknown. He could have stepped into the whole thing and been like, oh, yeah, I'm going to totally run for this, you know, and take it down, basically. He was nowhere to be found during that entire time, nowhere to be seen, and then all of a sudden he just randomly shows up this year, and I'm just like, yeah, this seems shady. Like, he doesn't seem on the level to me, honestly, is what it is. Not to mention the fact he's telling you everything you want to hear.
Exactly. That's
exactly how you want to
my
hear
problem.
it.
Not
And so
to
it
mention,
definitely leads to the whole thing.
just like him and Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah.
What was it? They were paid to be some speaker years ago.
Yeah, it was like 2004 or so when Al Sharpton was running for the presidency. It was some town hall that was run by I'm not sure who, but they were both there as like paid stooges to ask him questions.
Yeah, probably Soros back then as well.
It was just really, really shady and shit. And then of course you have that, and then that's the one thing Vivek has actually sat there and tried to debunk that whole thing and been like, oh, it was actually Soros's family member, not directly George Soros, but even still, it's still Soros tied though. So,
yeah,
it just feels very, very, very iffy, at least. And then to sit there and act as if he's just going to be just kind of sweep that shit on the rug, and it's like, nah, dude, you're not going to go that down that road. We're not going to let you do that.
And I can see your point, Daniel, and I will agree. If he did just 20-30% of what he says he's going to do, that would make him by far the best VP we've ever had, especially in my lifetime.
Yeah. I could honestly, if we wanted to talk about Vivek and he was actually on the level, I could legitimately see him being a what do you call it now? Like a Secretary of State or something like that, like some kind of office like that, like Secretary of something or other.
I could see him either being the person that comes before the Antichrist or be the Antichrist.
That's a little much, Corey.
I think Corey really doesn't like him. I can't put my finger on it.
I mean, I don't like the guy either, but that's a little far, man.
Well, that's why opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one.
Yeah. And lots of people are one.
Man, I think I'm getting sick. I've been having a ruddy nose for like half the day.
Yeah, it could be weather changes. I have that a lot of times too. It's a real pain in the ass when it happens too.
Yeah, Daniel, I see that. On paper, he's definitely better than Pence or even Camel Toe herself.
Well, Pence dropped out recently.
Well, thank God, because he had no fucking shot. That dude
and
was
Larry
horrible at
Elder,
VP.
unfortunately.
Wait, Larry Elder dropped out?
Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't see that happening.
A little sad, actually.
Yeah. I mean, but I think he also said he knew he probably wasn't definitely not gonna, get the nod, but
well, I mean, they fucked him out of like several debates. There is what it was, so it makes sense.
Right.
And again, that goes back to what I've been talking about this whole thing. Like, it's sort of like what I call the Rand Paul effect, which is who's actually scared. Who they're actually scared of, opposition wise, to get in there when you have stuff like that, and they're like, oh, you meet all these requirements, we're not going to on the base stage though, because they know for a fact they could actually transfer us the candidates. Is what it is there.
At least Sig Uger's still running, so that's a great thing.
Yeah, illegally though.
Right. Yeah. He cannot hold the presidency.
So here's an interesting thing about Cenk Uygur in general. I guess he's trying to do some court case right now. I don't know what court system it is right now. It's not Supreme Court though, but it's like one of the circuit courts or whatever. And it probably would be like a SCOTUS case eventually if it did go all that way. But yeah, he's basically trying to force the hand and be all like, oh, I can totally be president though, and da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, no, you're not birthright citizenship, dude. Like, you physically cannot be the president of this country ever.
Exactly.
For that exact reason.
Wait, so is it Cenk Uygur, You
Yeah,
how the
it's like
fuck do you say his
yeah,
name?
it's like Chonk. I think it's like it's CENK. It's you can pronounce it a bunch of different ways. Honestly, I don't really care how you pronounce it.
Chink.
But
Chink
anyway,
Uger.
yeah, it probably is more like Chank, honestly. But
Chink,
either way,
Uyghur.
yeah,
Get it?
Yeah.
but yeah, he's
Daniel
just a
keeps saying out there that he'd like
fucking
to
clown
see
ass.
Tucker Carlson be Trump's VP. What do you think of that?
Tucker wouldn't be bad. The problem is he is so well known and has so much against him already from other people and stuff. That might be a detriment to the ticket, honestly, just because of that.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, that's the only thing when it comes back, like circling back to Vivek and stuff, is is so little really known about this man that it's like that's how you would be able to sort of throw him in that mix.
Yeah.
Is just be like, oh, well, nobody really knows anything about him. And then it's like a whole thing where it turns out he's actually just a scumbag of the earth. So who knows, man? But
That's why I think Larry Elder might be good for like one of those secretary picks.
yeah.
And
Cemetery in the
Daniel
interior.
said, Trump isn't. He said he heard Donald Trump Jr. said Trump's not going to pick a woman as VP because he ain't going to be a pandering little bitch.
Well, and that's the entire problem. See, this is the one problem I've always had with politicians, and it seems like Democrats more than anything, especially in this last year's election cycle. The woman who was trying to run for governor here as a Democrat, she was a white chick, and so she's like thinking to herself, she's like, "How can I get all the votes? Oh, I'll just pick some black city council woman as my lieutenant governor pick then." And it was totally fucking pandering.
Yeah.
And by the way, nobody bought into her bullshit either, because everybody's like, "Yeah, you suck," and we have no idea who this fucking is. So we don't care about her either. Is what it is.
So is that true? Trump Jr. is going to run for governor of Florida?
I don't know. I haven't heard that one yet. That would be interesting. I mean, it would make sense given the fact that DeSantis is out in 2026, no matter what.
Yeah, that sucks too. That's one thing I'm glad about Texas is I don't believe we have term limits for governors.
No,
here.
you don't.
Abbott's been governor for quite a while, and he's been a good governor. And I mean, there's more I think he could do and should do, but I mean, I like him better than fucking Rick Perry ever was.
Yeah, Rick Perry was a fucking clown ass bitch.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, the thing about Abbott is, yeah, he's in his third term right now. And again, we can get into that talk as well. Like, I think truthfully there should be term limits in place no matter what. Like,
True.
and you will lose some good people in that mix, but at the same time, it's like you have others that are just going to scumbag anyway. Like, look at my fucking General Assembly right now. We introduced term limits on both sides of the House and Senate, like almost a decade ago, I think is what it is. And since then, instead of just getting the fuck out after 8 years, whatever it is there, people are all like, oh no, we're just going to sit here and be a bunch of assholes again and just flip-flop the General Assembly constantly. And then you got fuck knuckles like Cecil Thomas, who did the same thing last year when he was in the state Senate, trimmed out of there, jumped over to a state house in some bullshit blue district, and now, as of this week, has introduced some stupid-ass House bill called, let's see if I can find it here again.
Do you think two term limits it's the best route, or maybe 3?
Yeah.
No more than 2.
No more than 2?
Yeah, he introduced
Unless-
House Bill 309, or HB 309, which would basically establish 10-day waiting periods on background checks.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
And then Rachel Baker, who is one of the she's the second primary sponsor of this bill, is a known Mamas Demand Action member. Her entire campaign, all over Twitter/X, you can look at her Twitter profile right now. You can go back a few months on that whole thing because she basically, as soon as she won office, she like stopped using that Twitter account at all. And so there's stuff
What's
from
her
last
name?
year on there. Rachel Baker.
Is she the same one that fucking came up with that bullshit, ridiculous poll that 85% of Texans didn't want constitutional carry, and
I
they
don't-
disproved her really quickly?
I don't believe so because she was never in Texas. She's only been in Ohio. But yeah, she this Rachel woman though, she basically had a whole thing. Let me see if I can. I swear to God, I had a photo here the other day of it. Let's see if I can find it real quick. Because I love to be able to call these people out over this kind of shit.
I think Donald Trump Jr. should run for governor of California so we can get in there and make it pro-gun again. Or make it pro-gun for the first time in a long time, if not ever. I don't know if they were ever really pro-gun.
Okay, I guess I don't have it here yet. But yeah, basically it was like who supports Baker, and it was like Moms Man Action and a bunch of other anti-gun groups and stuff like that. So, and it makes sense when she was one of their people. So,
would it be against any kind of rule or whatever, say for like if someone that was running hardcore Democrat, like perfect for how Democrats love, and then gets into office and does a complete 180 and say, haha, gotcha, bitch, and they're actually pro-Constitution, pro-2A, pro-everything? Is there any kind of rule against that? Like, kind of like
there's not. And this is actually, I actually had this conversation probably about a year and a half ago with John Crump, because we were talking about it then. And as I told him then, I was like, you know, why aren't there a bunch of pro-2A people just running as Democrats in these heavily blue districts and then just, you know, win and change course immediately? And it was in the after chat that night where he's like, yeah, I didn't want to tell you this where it live, but we're trying to do that stuff over in Philadelphia right now.
They need to do that in California and do that in like New York and Chicago.
But you just gave away his secrets.
No, it was fine.
You gave away the info.
It came out later, honestly. The thing is, though, well, here's an interesting one, too, though. You look at Bloomberg. He's been funding candidates for like a decade now. Like all over America. And he actually admitted it. And there was a very large article about that like 6-8 months ago about how it's mostly school boards, actually, is where he's trying to start them at. Because he knows if he can get them in there. Like, this is why people need to pay attention to the school boards a lot more. Because if they can get them in there, they can start indoctrinating their bullshit with the kids in these school boards and then proceed to go on and go to higher levels of state house, state senate, etc., all the way up to like governorships, secretary of states, AGs, etc. there. And yeah, once you get to that level, you're fucked as a state then.
Yep.
If these people take control, you're done. You're going blue for good.
Why do you think they keep... Go ahead.
I would say, I know, but for Illinois, like downstate Illinois, where the Democrats there are pro-gun, because they want to still have their seats. So there is some that's pro-gun, like downstate Illinois, but
yeah,
not enough.
But now they kind of been silent. Yeah, it's not enough, and they kind of
and that's what it is. They just get drowned out. Then they get drowned out by all the anti-gunners and stuff like that, and then if they speak up at all, it's like, oh yeah, you're never going to get reelected. Then is what it is, and that's the unfortunate problem. Is that too many of these people just want the power, just want the control, instead of just being like, fuck this, I'm just going to do what's right this entire term. I don't care if I get reelected or not, and just go, full bore at the stuff.
Well, for downstate, that's the only way they get reelected, if they still remain pro-gun, so they can keep their seats down there. But, it's so few and far between from, like, middle and upstate Illinois.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the unfortunate situation that we live in a lot of these places, though. Well, it's just like the same thing with when you have, like, and I love how people here in Ohio love to talk about gerrymandering of Republican gerrymandering, stuff like that. Yet they never admit the only reason that they have 30-something Democrats in our state house right now is because you have like 10 from Columbus, 10 from Cleveland, 10 from Cincinnati, etc. And it's literally these major cities where they gerrymander like several extra seats to like 10, 12 extra seats in some cases. And when you call them out on that shit, they're just like, no. and they go full 5-year-old child. Basically, it's so retarded.
Pathetic.
It is pathetic. And then these are also the same people that want to sit there and bitch and moan about abortion and stuff like that on demand. It's like I talked about in Freedom Friday yesterday. Went to Reddit there, and there was some chick, shit talking her brother-in-law is what it was, because he fought to have his son live and not be aborted. And it's like, these fucking people, man, like,
they're evil.
They are. They're fucking. I swear to God, it's demonic possession at its worst in this country anymore.
Yep.
So I don't know what's going to change, what's going to be done to fix it, if anything. But yeah, it's just getting worse and worse the longer we go as a nation anymore, I feel like.
Till November, and if we make it that long, but
it's hard to say anymore. It's just such a shit show anymore. It's
I just go month by month. That's it. I'm just going month by month.
I'm going day by day at this point, depending on what we're talking about, because especially when you have things like the potential for World War III kicking off, when you have the potential for, some kind of crazy sleeper cell attack here in America pretty soon.
This is true. I never thought we'd be talking about the Middle East once again, once we left Afghanistan. I thought, okay, we're done for that. We're starting to move towards electric cars. Don't have to depend on that oil anymore. And
which electric cars
we
is
could
a
be
huge
done
mistake.
Right, but right. I mean, but the technology will eventually get there.
Right.
But just saying, we're gonna start to move in that direction. We don't have to worry about that region anymore. And then this happened.
Yeah. Well, it's just like,
which I still think we just need to stay out of it.
Yes.
The thing is, I think we'd be smarter off if we started creating hover technology.
Because they're not already doing it.
Comparing to electric vehicles, I think hover technology would be a much better investment at this point.
Yeah, kind of
probably
like
actually better, probably much easier to do, honestly.
Would you like to see something like the remake of Total Recall, where they had like the highways and shit on top, and then I saw also underneath was the highway too, but the way they hug the rail from the top of the roof instead of hovering on the wheels or whatever.
You say that again because it's going in and out.
Are you talking about the original Total Recall, or are you talking about a different one?
The remake with Colin Farrell.
I've never seen that.
Have you seen it, Leo?
I have watched it once, but I don't remember it, like everything from it.
Well, do you remember the hover car scenes and stuff when they're driving down the highway trying to get away, and they got
some of that. Yeah,
they got the hover highways where you're floating on the bottom of the car, but underneath said highways you have where they like electrically hold you up or some shit from the roof, whatnot. So you're going across that way.
Yeah. Okay.
How would you like something like that?
That would be great, but I'm thinking with reality, dude, these roads would be in constant state of construction. Fiction shit. Right, exactly. Traffic wouldn't go anywhere. There'd always be some type of maintenance going on, and an hour wait to get from this town to the city, downtown, back to the next every fucking day, because one of them magnetic strips or something is down.
Yeah, just do some hover cars like in Fifth Element.
Right, the hover cars itself has to be damn near hover on its own with a little help from non-electric, I don't know, magnets or something on the road.
Yeah,
to quit is my goal.
In Fifth Element, they had their hover cars, way up in the sky, like way the fuck up there.
Mm-hmm.
And you could go down or whatever. So I think that would be better. That way you can go around shit, go up high if you want, go low.
But then you got to think about the drug drivers, people who still can't fly or drive.
Yeah. Well, the thing is with that though, you could almost do it with how Teslas are and stuff like that. How it's technically like driverless, but not really.
Right.
You could actually make technology like that, where it would just be like a weird like autopilot kind of thing, or whatever the case be. That being said, I never trust that shit honestly, because
Hell no, I don't even trust
Yeah.
the fucking bullshit now with Teslas.
yeah.
I've seen and heard of way too many Tesla cars crashing because it doesn't recognize certain things.
Uh-huh.
They just said bicycle your ass to the bug grocery store. Yep. Get some crickets, some grasshoppers, and
Yeah, because he said you won't be needing hovercrafts in 15-minute cities,
That's
Right.
very true.
which that's what they want us to all be in is 15-minute
Yep.
cities so they can control us like districts.
and plus
Like
you won't be
fucking Hunger
owning none
Games.
of the hovercrafts. You own
True.
nothing and be happy.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just.
He also said, Daniel said that Donald Trump Jr. and has mentioned it several times on his podcast or a podcast where he is running for governor of Florida.
Huh. Interesting.
Do you think he has a
Yes.
shot? To be honest,
I
In
mean,
Florida,
anything's
you
possible.
never know. Right? In Florida, you never know.
Oh, speaking of Florida, did you guys hear they're making a Florida Man games now?
Oh, they are? That's nice.
Let me see if I can go find it real quick. I heard
like
about it the other
what,
day.
like a game show or like
So
football, or is it like a movie?
it's an actual like sporting event. It's going to be done yearly, apparently, starting next year.
Oh God! So it's gonna be like the Highland Games.
Yeah, one of a kind Florida Man
Christ.
games includes evading arrest, beer belly wrestling, and other competitions. Said founder's goal is for the Florida Man Games to be a quote day of laughter. Says first ever Florida Man Games are set for February 24th, 2024 in St. Augusta, Florida. Competitions, unlike most others, Florida Man Games originate from the bizarre news headlines that often come out of the Sunshine State. Florida Man Games founder Pete Malfi is no stranger to these wacky headlines, as he has covered them for many years. So he had a vision to convert strange, viral Florida Man headlines into a hilarious competition, and the Florida Man Games was born. Quote, there's definitely a common theme that goes along with Florida Man. I tried to think of a way that we could encompass that Florida Man into an event. So after we were talking about the event, it's kind of evolved into here. How do you make this a competition? How do you find out who's the best Florida man out there and the best group of Florida men out there? So,
Are they gonna have gator wrestling?
let's see. It said, won't find games like tug of war or balloon toss challenges in Florida Man Games, but you'll find an event called a catalytic converter, 2 bikes, and a handful of copper pipes. Race against time.
What about PCP and bath salts? They're gonna have that in the game.
Maybe.
And see how many faces they can eat.
Let's see. It said, this guy said, I was thinking of courses. I covered these stories forever. Just tried to think of some of the most common things that Florida man do. Said there's often catalytic converters involved in these things. In Florida, we got a big problem with stealing copper. Tried to encompass as many of these things in the competitions as possible. And of course, there is stuff with like gators and whatnot, apparently.
I wonder what the prizes will be. Is it like a trip to jail?
Let's see. It says other events in Florida Man Games include a weaponized pool noodle, mud duel, Category 5 cash grab, and beer belly Florida sumo. It said 16 teams of 3 to 5 will be chosen to participate in Florida Man Games. Over 200 people have already applied for the competition.
I might have to watch just to watch the shit show unfold. So, if this does become reality.
Yeah, I feel like, honestly, this goes back to something we've talked about many a time before. And it is legitimately, we are heading towards idiocracy one day quick at a time right now. And Corey's gone. So anyway, but yeah, I think we're definitely heading towards Idiocracy. The only thing we're missing right now is the Brando the Thirst Quencher and an actual President Camacho, which Biden's not far off, honestly. So that being said, one story I did want to talk about, I didn't get a chance to cover this week yet, which is, for those who haven't seen it, the other day there was a guy in the Bronx, I believe, who killed two of his neighbors, and literally the next day was shot and killed by the cops. NYPD man who killed two of his neighbors was shot and killed by NYPD police officers the next morning. So, yeah, that dude was a fucking psycho, 100%. Everything I've seen about this whole thing, it seems like you basically just had a guy who was essentially a Fear That Neighbor episode in the making, where he wanted to make everything happen there or whatever. And the thing is, like, even the longer extended video of that whole situation, like, you can actually see him just waiting for the neighbor guy to put a shirt and shoes on and walk out there and, like, confront his ass with whatever. Where he could have left any time during that 5 minutes, whatever it took him to do that. But yet chose to stay and then pulled a gun on the guy after the guy pulled scissors on him, and it was a whole clusterfuck. And now, of course, you got, you know, that dude and his stepson are now dead, and so is this guy. So you basically ruined 3 lives for what? Over some music or whatever the hell you want to claim it was. So just a sad, sad tale of the world we live in these days.
Yep. Everything's getting crazier and crazier.
Yes, it is. And it's just ridiculous that we have all this insanity seem to be ramping up, not even naturally anymore. I think it's very unnatural how some of it's ramping.
Oh, yeah.
It's definitely orchestrated for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I would say the manufactured terror for sure is a big deal. And then, of course, you got everybody trying to, you know, lose their shit over everything else now is what it is. So
they want to create chaos so they can implement a police state so they can have total control.
And at the same time, they're implementing all these foreign national fighting age males to be that police state, to be the door-to-door confiscators and whatnot. Of course, you had, those that haven't heard it yet, sometime this week, you had that moron Steve Dottlebuck from the ATF admit straight up that the ATF has a gun registry already and has for years now. So that's awesome. But I definitely think we are heading towards a very, very dark time in this country's history, honestly, right now. And I don't know if we're going to come back from it, honestly. It might be the end of what we know as the United States, honestly.
The fall of Rome.
Yep. And I think that is very, very telling, honestly. Because
well, it's not even the fall of the...
Go ahead.
It's not even the fall of the United States. It's the fall of the West, period.
Yeah, exactly.
Which includes Europe and all that.
Yeah, it's the fall of all Western countries by Islamic terrorist takeover, et cetera, et cetera.
And the communists in the West.
And then, of course, you got... I don't really want to show this whole photo collage here because I think it's red paint, but I'm not sure. But yeah, you had thousands of pro-Palestine marchers descend upon Washington, D.C., chanting Allah Akbar, fuck Joe Biden, as they demand ceasefire. They actually stormed the gates, too, tonight of the White House, and pretty much were jumping the White House gates, and it's like, how are you not being shot by Secret Service right now? Like, that's what's insane to me, honestly.
Right. It is not going to be the headline news.
No, they're suppressing as much as possible. And, of course, you got, quote, "This is genocide. Macklemore speaks at pro-Palestine rally in D.C. where demonstrators called for destruction of Israel." Jeez. Fucking ridiculous. Yeah, like I said, then you got the thousands
the most
there.
panderous rapper ever.
Yeah, that guy is the main reason why you can no longer find good deals at thrift stores anymore. Because he made that stupid ass thrift store song like 20 years ago, whatever the hell it was now.
I was just at the thrift store today,
Yeah.
doing like a little look around. There's actually
The
some
last-
good stuff in there.
The last time I found anything good was when I went to Maine to visit some family, and this was almost a decade ago because it was 2014 when my uncle got married again. And we went to a random Goodwill up there, which, by the way, was almost looked like it was a house that was turned into a Goodwill. It was very weird looking. Well, that makes sense because, I mean, it's fucking Maine, for God's sakes. But yeah, they had a couple things there that were pretty interesting. And then I found this book that was taught. I forget exactly what it was called. It was like Man Topics or like Man Talk or something like that. And it was like different things you should know as like a man. And it was only like a couple of dollars, so I decided I'm going to get that from my brother and then give it to him. And then he ended up giving it to my nephew like a couple years ago then as a re-gift. And it has helped out the kid, though, quite a bit from my understanding. Because it's like, especially if you don't have, you know, like somebody in your life that can teach you certain things or whatever the case be, like it did have some good topics in there, like, you know, how to tie your own ties and stuff like that. So, but yeah, it was pretty interesting. And then, of course, you had just other things relating to various topics in it. So, anyway, but yeah, that being said, trying to find another story to talk about here. Let's see. Actually, this is pretty good. Going back to good old Bearing Arms here, we got in pressing for rural gun control support, writer misfires. It's not surprising. Let's see. It says gun control is all the rage once again, as it normally is after a mass shooting. What happened to Lewiston, Maine was tragic to the extreme. It was all the more jarring because Maine isn't exactly the hotbed for so-called gun violence. Because of the rural nature of the state, it tends to be pretty pro-gun, even as it otherwise sides with Democrat Party policies just about everywhere else. But some are using the Lewiston tragedy to try and press for rural communities to support gun control. Quote, one can understand why elected officials in rural areas, even in general liberal states, would be put forth the argument that guns aren't a problem. Maine, after all, is a low crime place. It's also very white for a state, by the way. So the murder rate is fourth lowest in the nation, despite the strong gun culture. Said many Maine residents rely on firearms to hunt for dinner. Vermont, another New England state with little gun violence and lax gun laws, has the second record lowest murder rate in the country. And what's true in northern New England is true throughout much of rural America. What fuels the impression that homicides are high in these areas is that the official statistics for gun deaths include suicides, which account for over half of the deaths by firearms. Wyoming had one of the lowest homicide rates in America, but the highest gun suicide rate in 2021, according to local numbers. Latest numbers. It's in opposing sensible gun laws. The National Rifle Association summons visions of peaceful gun-owning communities centering on hunting. Of course, the killing machine used in Lewiston was designed not for hunting deer, but for mowing down large numbers of human beings in seconds, as is every fucking gun. Because again, shit was never designed for hunting. It was always designed to kill tyrants. Just happens to be you can actually hunt with them too. And as the person reading the Bearing Arms side of this said, mistake one is that this author somehow thinks the NRA or people in rural communities see the Second Amendment rights as centered on hunting. So hunting and 2A are tied together, as we noted earlier this week, but not the focus. Of course, the same post, that same post, disputes some of the author's implication regarding how the AR-15 platform rifle used in Lewiston Killer is a hunting weapon. It's funny that they are trying to argue that rural communities need gun control. This woman touches on where gun deaths in those communities actually come from, and it's mostly suicides. Yet they're pushing for gun control anyway. Yeah, that's the whole point, though. It's always about control. It always is.
Yep.
100%. He dropped out of the chat, man. I think he had to go do something. So, but yeah, it's just like every fucking time it's always the push, and it's always manufactured too. It seems like it's like, oh yeah, you know, and this is the thing I find the most convenient when it comes to Maine in general is you had the day, so you had weeks and weeks of time here where nothing happens, and then the day that a new Speaker of the House is elected. Now all of a sudden there's another massacre popping up out of nowhere. It's like that shit is not by fucking like naturally done. That's 100% by design.
Right.
Like there's no way that was not like waiting to be done at that point.
Yep. Since October 7th happened in Israel, people were thinking like, damn, this is the reason why we need guns.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
But that was getting too much momentum, so they had to, just
it's the same.
in this wrench.
It's the exact same thing with the COVID lockdowns. You know, and truthfully, there was natural stuff coming from that. There was myself and other people here in Ohio. We were naturally coming together, and this is in the wake of Dayton, as 2A communities to do stuff and become a natural grassroots organization to fight back for our rights here. And as soon as the lockdowns happened, that shit was knocked out like fucking crazy. You had everybody freaking the fuck out, everybody fearing for whatever the hell was going to come next, and it completely just threw wrenches in our works at that point.
Yeah, and then the summer of love happened.
Exactly, and then it proved yet again exactly why people need to arm up. And you had some of the most. I think it was actually the time, if I'm not mistaken, thing I was reading the other day. It was saying that was like the one time in history where we actually had the most background checks done in any single year because of that.
Yeah.
And it was because you had actual cops out there telling people straight up, they're like, oh, unless you're calling us for like homicides, we're not going to come to your house for like a burglary of some kind.
And all those new gun owners found out real quick what it actually requires to buy one.
Well,
and you just can't order one off the internet and it shows up to your front door.
The really sad part about that is that it did show that, but it also at the same time, you had people within a few months after the rioting and everything else like that had, subsided and whatnot. They're all like, oh, I don't really need this gun anymore for my protection or anything like that. So let me just go ahead and get rid of this first. I need some money now. So you had so many guns hit the market as used firearms that were never even fired once. Or maybe they were fired like a mag through them or something like that at a range day or something.
Right, when they first bought it.
Exactly. And it's sad because you have so many people that should have kept a hold of those guns because they're going to need them again very soon is what it is. And they chose to not. And that, at the same time, though, you did have a lot of people come together and actually become not only gun owners in this country, but they became Second Amendment advocates like myself is what it is. Now, granted, I was, a gun owner before 2020, but the whole entire point is, though, is there were a lot of people who weren't. And it's since then you've had this new breed of people come forward and are some of the most vocal about it now and being like, yeah, this is why we need our rights to be here is what it is. So, I'm quarterback. Did you drop out or something?
No, I don't know if you heard me or not. I had a phone call coming in. I told you I'd be back.
No, I missed that one.
Yeah, it's probably because the phone call interrupted it. But yeah, like I said before the chat started, I might have to drop out a couple times because my sister's actually in the hospital and I've been dealing with bullshit.
No, that's not good. Yeah, I was supposed to go to town this weekend because they were having the wake for my brother's mother-in-law who passed last weekend.
Oh shit, man! I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I didn't go though because for multiple reasons. It's like we barely knew each other, truthfully speaking. We only talked a handful of times in our lives. And like I know that technically she was extended family, but at the same time it's like I don't really know you.
That's understandable.
And then at the same time I'm just like I don't really want to be sad is what it is. Like I don't want to be one of these people that goes to a wake and breaks down again.
Right. If it's not one thing, it's another. I know if I'm like really happy for 2 days, I know some shit is gonna hit me in the face on the third day.
Yeah.
Right. always catch myself. Like, I'm just so happy for some reason. And everything's going great. I just think, this means some shit about to happen. I'm about to get, life is gonna slap me in the face right around, I don't know, shit, fucking Thursday or Friday. It is back to the same old bullshit again.
Yep. And we got Biden gets political and Lewiston calls for common sense, reasonable measures. So I assume he's going to disarm his own people then, if that be the case. And by that I mean his private security.
I want to ask him in person. Spell common sense for me right now. No help, no A's, no nothing, no earwigs. You spell it.
K.
Just a phrase.
O.
Exactly.
Yeah, because he would not be able
Z.
Zer.
Sense. CENT, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Self-defense concerns drive gun sales in October 51 straight months of more than 1 million gun transfers. That is a lot. So last month was the third highest October on record for gun sales, according to the National Shooting Sports Foundation. The group estimates there were nearly 1.4 million background checks conducted in firearms transfers. It says 1,370,719 to be specific, an 8.3% increase compared to the sales in October 2022. 51 straight months in a row with more than 1 million gun sales. A streak that NSSF Managing Director of Public Affairs Mark Olivia says is historic. In a press release, he declared the figures demonstrate the value Americans place on their Second Amendment rights. Not to mention the fact that, as we said last week,
did he freeze or I freeze?
I think he.
You had.
Oh yeah, he froze.
Yeah, it was me. Okay, I'm not sure where I cut out at. Like I was saying, though, there's when we were talking about last week, there was that gun shop that was like steps from the main bowling alley. That was like, oh, we're not going to open because of the tragedy that happened here. People were like, no, dude, we want to buy guns now. We don't have them yet. Help us buy guns, please. So,
and that's awesome to hear that, all these gun sales and everything's going on. That fucking, makes me happy. But I still say it's not enough.
Yeah, here it is. Yeah, it says both the attacks in Israel mass murder, subsequent manhunt for the killer in Maine are likely have played a role in the release of the new stats. Busy gun shops the past couple of weeks. Quote, we were swamped yesterday. Navy veteran Ryan Gascon, a co-owner of 3 Cousins Firearms, told Fox Digital, our sales were up over 200% compared to typical Fridays. Said Gascon told the network that he and other owners did not plan on opening up the store due to the shelter-in-place orders, but decided to go ahead after he received multiple messages on Facebook. It was all self-defense stuff being sold, which would be obviously handguns and probably like even ARs for that matter. Says Tony Lewis, who owns T&K Tactical in Augusta, about 30 miles from Lewiston, told the Portland Press Herald that he made more sales than I did all last month in that one day. Says people are scared because obviously the manhunt was going on then. Says law enforcement's pretty focused on finding this person, so if civilians call for assistance, they're probably not going to get it right away. So they want to make sure they can protect themselves and their families.
Good. Now, is there a way to look up the statistics on how many Jewish Americans have purchased firearms since the Israel and Hamas conflict?
So I'm glad you brought that up, Corey, because as this part of this article says, the same fear of the unknown and the desire to defend oneself is also driving gun sales across the country in response to Hamas attack on Israel and a rise in anti-Semitic incidents here at home. Eric Dilbert, owner of the LEPD Firearms Range and Training Center in Columbus, Ohio, said he noticed a change in his business following October 7th when the war begun. It was almost immediate, not just on the gun sales side, but on the ammunition side as well. We have also had a number of Jewish folks within our community reach out to us to talk about gun safety courses, concealed carry courses, etc. Local affiliate said gun sales at LEPD in the weeks leading up to when the war began and compared to the sales at 3 weeks following, This is according to Dilbert's sales numbers. There was a 32% rise in ammunition sold and a 13% rise in gun sales during that time.
Damn.
So we have definitely seen the correlation of world events and sales or an increase in people wanting to protect themselves. This time is a little different because it's specifically to a group of individuals stateside. Members of the Jewish community in Columbus, Ohio said the spike in sales is not surprising. People you would not expect to get a gun, including myself, see this as, see that there are issues, and we are learning, gun owner Larry Levine said. So, yeah. People are arming up, man, and it makes sense because I know last weekend you literally had a pro-Hamas thing going on there at the State House.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
So,
you see the bullshit in D.C.?
yeah, I was talking about it as you were gone. It was they were literally jumping the fence and stuff like that now.
Jesus Christ, man! This
Palestine
is
flags and everything else like that. Yeah, I'm honestly surprised we haven't seen a fucking terrorist attack at this point.
Who's to say we haven't? They just hadn't reported on it yet because they're
be,
trying to
could
keep
be.
it under wraps.
And plus, we still got Thanksgiving coming up, Christmas, New
Well,
Year's
the thing is,
Eve.
what I'm saying on that one is, I know I heard the other day there was apparently a guy trying to ram a gate in, I forget what state it was, but it was some substation for the electrical grid.
Jesus Christ.
So, yeah.
Can we just wait until like spring or summer next year before all this shit kicks off?
Yeah, at least give us one more Christmas, man. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, let's just give us,
Enough time to prepare mentally.
exactly.
Right. And it's too damn cold right now for all this shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, wait till
Daniel,
spring.
can I take a loan out from you?
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. Shit'll get crazier and crazier as we let it to get there. So,
Oh God, yeah, especially with this bullshit fucking administration that doesn't give two shits about America or its people.
Yeah. Just wait till I buy more ammo and more magazines.
That's why I'm saying
Exactly.
just wait until about summer next year,
Yeah.
because hopefully my court shit gets done and over with and approved
Right.
here next month, and then I'll be happy when I can
Right.
get
Wait
more
till I
fresh.
finish all my dental stuff. Right.
Exactly.
And I'll wait till after tax time, when I get that tax return back and I can buy a couple more
Yeah,
stuff.
that's what I'm saying. Wait until about summer, so we
Yeah.
have money.
yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting time ahead for sure. And I think only time will tell exactly how bad it will get. So,
Oh, it's gonna be a fun ride next year. It's gonna be a fun ride.
I was watching the movie Maximum Overdrive the other day.
Great movie, classic.
So
Great
I feel like there's like one problem I have with that entire film, and it is the fact that you have people in it who obviously show that it's not just the big rigs that are being possessed by the Comet Cloud thing, whatever it is there.
Yeah,
It's every machine basically, but yet then you have selective enforcement of that rule throughout the movie. Because truthfully, there should be a lot more people dead of just like random things like killing them that are electronical, and
Yep.
there's not. Like there's even several times in the movie itself, in the actual gas station place there, they basically are attacked, but they're not really attacked. Like it's just silly as fuck, honestly. And it's like, come on, man! Like you can do better than that.
well, it was made back in the 80s or early
Yeah,
90s.
it was like 86 or 87,
80s,
somewhere in there.
80s.
Yeah, I thought it was the 80s, but I was just trying to cover my base. But yeah, I agree. I mean, if they redid it now, I think they could do fantastic. It'd be fantastic, especially if they got the right producer and writer.
Yeah.
That'd probably fuck it up even worse these days.
They probably would. Didn't that have Emilio Estevez in it?
It did, and that. So here's another thing
Yeah.
about that too, by the way. So you had Emilio Estevez in it as the random line cut guy who was a felon or whatever. And then you had some random woman who was like a hitchhiker chick or whatever. And so from my understanding, just rewatching her recently, you basically had the two of them know each other for roughly 14 hours before they started fucking on a regular basis.
Why not? You know?
I mean, I could see if you think it's going to be like, you know, end of the world scenario and stuff, but at the same time, it's like, really, like, come on, man. And I feel like that's the kind of shit that it was with the 80s back in those days. It's just like, yeah, you know, like, can't really have, and it's like that with a lot of Hollywood movies for that matter. It's like, you can't ever come up with like a good storyline where you just have like platonic relationships and shit. So it's like, nope, gotta have them fucking now.
Yep.
Yeah. Basically, I think basically that was like every Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. And I don't think he ever like banged a chick in the movie. Right? It was like the love interest, but mostly everything he did was just a kiss.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you go back and watch those,
Arnold Schwarzenegger was a big fucking womanizer back in the day. I don't know if he still is or not, but he was known for beating on women.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, like I've said several times in these chats, his father, for those who don't know, was an actual Nazi officer.
Yep.
And he used to praise the motherfucker a lot. He's like, yeah, my daddy was a Nazi officer.
I heard this the other day, and you can Google it to see if it's true or not. I haven't had time to do it, but like 2 days ago, I heard. Do you know what his last name in German means?
Yeah, I think you told me at one of the back chats here. It was like something where it's just like real racist or whatever.
Yeah, Schwartz, or however you say it, is German for black, and the last half of his last name is the N-word.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. Not surprising, though. I mean, for all we know, there's actually like some weird heritage there where he actually is like part racial or whatever it is there.
I have no idea.
Like on grandma's side or grandpa's side or whatever it is. Who the hell knows?
I heard that and I was like, holy shit, if that's true, like, good Lord. How...
I know he kind of looks kind of Asian-y a bit.
Yeah, he...
Arnold?
Just some things. Just some things.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely an interesting character for sure.
Like his jawline, no, that's straight European, but like sometimes in the eyes, in the brow,
I can see
Asian-y.
Well, I mean, there was a lot of like, you know, flip overs and stuff like that back in those days too, where you had people.
I don't
in, like,
think he's that good of an actor to begin with. He's just his name is what gets him all his roles because of fucking Terminator and Predator.
No, it was just his build and his accent. You know, it just like Will Smith playing Will Smith in every movie.
Yeah.
Right. It's just Schwarzenegger playing Schwarzenegger in every movie.
It's their niche.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, like there were some decent films in the 90s he played in that weren't bad. Like True Lies was pretty good.
Commando was fucking great.
Yeah.
Terminator was great. Predator was fucking great.
They actually tried to do a True Lies remake recently as a TV series, and it bombed after one season.
Yep, I heard about that.
Which is sad because I actually watched some of it, and it wasn't bad. Like, had they given it time to actually get a real audience to it, it probably could have done good. Probably could have done like 3 or 4 seasons, honestly. It's been like a decent series, but yeah, they just canceled after the first season. So
Raw
I don't know.
Deal
Maybe
Mellow, and that was pretty good.
What's that now? Raw
Deal with Schwarzenegger.
Oh, okay.
Or The Running Man.
Yeah, there's a lot of
or not Running Man. What is it? Blade Runner. I'm sorry.
There's a lot of like semi-decent or decent ones he did in the 80s and 90s.
I'm surprised they never got him to play the Hulk version of Hulk.
Yeah.
Kind of like Lou Ferrigno.
Going back to pro-Palestine shit in Washington, D.C. Pro-Palestine rioters descended and vandalized historic monuments in Washington, D.C. today. Literally putting fucking Palestinian flags on shit everywhere.
Jesus Christ.
Fucking Hamas, Hajib things, everything else like that. Fucking Free Palestine, graffiti on shit. How is that
should
not
be
a federal felony, by the way? you're spray
exactly
painting
that
stuff
should
like
be
that?
like an automatic fucking I don't know 1 to 5 years in prison.
I would go further than that. I'd say at least a 10-year minimum anyway. But yeah, it's just ridiculous. Like, and that's one thing if you have like a sign that says it or whatever. But when you're sitting there spray painting graffiti on shit, like that takes a long time to get off that. Not to mention, it's not like you can just pressure wash the motherfucker because it's old as shit.
You know,
They could crumble it. So
I think
yeah,
with a
it's just
lot of these fucking
ridiculous.
soy boy cocksuckers, if you gave them even just a month in prison, that would change their attitude.
I think 7 hours would change their attitude, honestly.
But they know
So-
that they're not going to go to prison. So like,
Yeah,
Exactly.
the
There's
thing
no
is-
consequences.
it's just a new thing to protest about.
Yeah.
I'm quite sure most of them don't even care, or can point, or that can point on Israel on a map. It's like, oh, this is a new thing we supposed to get behind. Well, let's do new thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't
And
be
then
surprised
after that-
if most of them were paid to do this.
Yeah, they had Ukrainian flags up all earlier in the year last year. Now they got Palestine flags.
So
It's just a new
apparently, a local news affiliate in Bellingham, Washington, is now considering the phrase "stop white hate" as a racist statement. Like, what in the fuck? I
Well,
feel like we're
because
done as a country at this point. Like, there's no
White-
way that we're not just ascending into
Well, here's the
insanity at this
thing.
point.
white nationalists are the real threat to this country.
Yeah, it's not the 100,000 Islamic terrorists that we just let the files be destroyed of.
White nationalists are the real threat to this country. That's it.
I don't know if you guys saw this video here, this chick talking about how, oh, there's all these dudes out here that don't want a muscular woman with their crazy ass septum piercing. Like, she is a fucking lunatic, man.
No, they just probably don't want you.
Yeah.
I mean, I find some muscular women attractive. It's,
Well, she.
I mean,
just,
there's the
just
one
from
that
listening to that whole
overdo it.
thing, she just sounds like a nut job.
right.
Just two best friends chilling.
The pig and the rabbit.
Yep. I feel like that rabbit would definitely go nuts on somebody, though. Give him one of those big old bunny kicks. That piglet would get huge, though, at some point.
Yep.
They ain't no micro piggy. So, Jesus, that is some creepy shit. Little baby owl. The way its eyes are, though, on the edges. So it's almost like her shit sunken in or whatever.
I love owls for some reason.
I mean, it looks interesting, but like that's what I'm saying. It's like you can tell it like needs to like grow into its like sides or whatever there, where its eyes are. Like, it
It's
just
like
looks
a barn
super.
owl.
I don't know. Just like that's the thing though. Like because it's a baby, like it just has like it still needs like time to grow in or whatever. Like it's not full. Like it's just like it looks like its face is like sunken oddly. Is what it is there.
Oh yeah,
Just creepy.
right. Like he's wearing a hood over his head.
Yeah, exactly. Or like he's wearing a mask or something like that over his eyes or something.
Yeah, like a right. Yeah, do like a gray ski mask.
Yeah, it's like an owl wearing an owl mask. So, anyway, yeah, let's see what else we got going on here. Hot Springs, Arkansas officer confronted by a group of teenage girls for littering. Okay, Hot Springs, Arkansas officer confronted a group of teenage girls for littering on Halloween night when they lost their minds and assaulted him. Girl's mom made up false claims over the incident, prompting the police to release body cam footage immediately of what actually happened. Fucking ridiculous. Yeah, people will always lie about shit.
Yep. Even cops too. Like even when that body cam's on, they still try to lie their way out of it.
Well, it's like that one fucking cop who, I think it was in Florida, if I'm not mistaken, the one that got busted recently, or it was like a year or so ago, he got busted. And he was literally talking about, he was planting drugs on people with his body cam on. And it's like, bro, you literally tossing shit in the back of people's vehicles. And there's like 50 or 60 different convictions got overturned.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. There's been several of them like that. The cops got busted for fucking planting drugs.
It's a lot of dogs, man. Snapping together.
How my dogs typically lay
Yeah.
on top of each other, and I'm like, how the fuck is that comfortable?
Did you see that one video I sent you the other day where it was the big ass dogs and the little dog together, and the one was giving them each a treat and then tell them to go?
Oh yeah, and the little dog took them all. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've seen that
just like
before.
zoop, and then ran off.
Yeah.
She's just laughing the whole time. So. Okay, I gotta show this one because it's just so ridiculous that it just has to be shown. So you got a dude showing up to some kind of gaming thing, whatever, with giant ass keyboards. He's just like, bro, come on. I feel like that's something you would see at like convention centers and stuff.
Right.
So let's see. Yeah, Masked Man becomes angry and aggressive when he saw a Hamas are terrorist sign in London Palestine protest. Here's another one from a couple hours ago of them trying to storm the gates of the White House fencing and stuff, which was pro-Palestine protesters appear to be threatening to storm through the White House fencing and are threatening Secret Service agents. Multiple video angles show hundreds of angry pieces of shit up against the White House fence. They are also throwing red paint on said fence, and yet they're not being arrested.
Why?
Fucking insane, man. Exactly. Like, why? Like, honestly, if you're with even like a couple of feet of that gate, I thought you could be arrested, honestly, just for touching it, really.
I thought so
It's
too.
like part of the White House. Like, it's like an extension of 1600 Penn Avenue is what it would be then. So, yeah.
How much you want to bet
psychotic?
The ones with that face covered are just a bunch of non-Muslim, white bread, latte sipping.
It's probably
people.
Antifa. Yeah.
You're right.
And we got Foreign
Not
Army
even
descending
Muslim.
on Capitol, literally putting up Palestine bullshit and all the statues and everything else like that. Fucking insane, man.
Fucking infuriating.
Which like Antifa, why is he even supporting this? They are against everything you for.
Exactly.
Every single thing you for, they are against.
So I'm not going to show this because it's like 4 minutes and I don't know if there's anything that would get me channel struck in it. I will put it up to the, I'm going to go ahead and do a repost on it for our X account here. But it was an important video on the history of people you know as Palestinians being kicked out of Arabic nations. Guess why they were kicked out? Yeah, why Egypt doesn't want them, why nobody else wants them, etc. So.
Right, didn't they try to overthrow the government of Egypt? Like
they don't want them anywhere over there because they are. Well, the problem is, I think we've talked about this before in Honest Chat, where it is you have people who you essentially have like multiple Arabic tribes, I guess is what it is. And it's like, oh, we're pretty much exactly the same, except for like this one slight difference. And so it's basically, you're not the same kind of Arab that I am. And so now I don't want you in my country because you're going to fuck it up. Like, essentially, it goes back to the whole thing we've talked about before, where it's, the whole different cultures and stuff like that. things, and it's
Tribal.
like, you got,
Then you got
just
the
certain criminal
Shia,
elements and stuff like that, and there's what it is.
right? Then you got Shia, then you got Sunny, then it's which tribe you belong to.
I don't know if this is actually in Ukraine or not, so I'm going to preface that, but this video is fucking insane. Because it's literally a room full of cash that some dude is just kicking around. That's a fuck ton of money, man. Looks like somebody just robbed a bank or two.
Right. Or something for a music video.
Maybe. I don't know. A lot of that cash was still in the bundles, though, is what it is there. Fucking nuts. Oh, yeah, this is the one I was talking about right here with the, what does it say here? Fighting age Syrian males coming to America. These are 100% the sleeper cell guys, by the way, because they're all trying to cover their faces and not be identified later is what it would be. So, yeah, these are the people that honestly should be dealt with at our border accordingly, right as soon as they show up to it.
Yep. No women, no kids.
Nope, just all dudes.
Right. No old men.
Yep, just a bunch of young 20-something, 30-somethings, whatever the case be.
Yep. Interesting.
So apparently a lot of people are starting to show random video evidence of the 2020 election being stolen right in front of everybody's faces here, where you literally have woman goes to stuff a ballot box in Georgia November 2nd, 2020, but then she realizes all the ballots were not signed, so she goes back to her car and signs them all. Yeah, literally sitting there just signing them, sign. Okay, let me just throw them back in the box now. And this is one of the 54,000 mules they talked about in the 2,000 Mules documentary. So, and nothing's being done about this, so look forward to happening again in 2024 now. If we actually get to the election cycle here. So, whoa. That was pretty nuts.
Oh, yeah. I got the live stream going over there.
No, I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. I thought you heard the
Yeah,
bomb.
I was watching this video here. Reef squid goes from transparent to opaque. I don't know. Whatever. Basically, goes from black to colorless.
Oh, yeah. I've seen this video.
Fucking nuts, and then black and back to black again.
Right.
It's almost like it's like reacting to the person's hand and being like, "No, you don't see me. Now you see me again."
Right.
Fucking crazy, man.
Yeah. Yeah, but right when you said whoa, right, it was a big boom on my TV.
Yeah.
It just went boom.
Yeah, nature is crazy as fuck like that.
Yeah, gotta enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah. There was an interesting one that came out here too, where it was they were doing car crash testing of various vehicles and the survivability rate of different rides here. So you got Ford Bronco, survival rate is pretty much non-existent. You have a Lamborghini that you have a 45% chance of survival. Porsche that has less than 1% survival. A Ford Explorer that still has a 99% chance of survival.
Okay, nice.
And then you got an Audi that has 98% chance of survival because the way it crashes into it.
Mm-hmm.
A Volkswagen that is a 24% chance of survival. You
that
have
is like a zero.
Land Rover that is a 7% chance of survival when it gets crashed into. A Lexus LX that goes from 100 to 1%. And then a BMW X7 that goes from 100 to 0% chance. And then a Chevy Tahoe that goes from 100 to 50% chance.
So basically, all the cars
are.
Right. So basically, the cars are better than the SUVs.
There was also a Hyundai Sierra that has a 75% chance survival rating. All this was done using it was all rear end crashes where a semi was going 30 miles an hour at the time. So if that's going any faster than that, like, yeah, none of those cars have a survival rating at that point. Like, they're all zero. Because if you're 75% at fucking, you're 75, 80, 90% at 30 miles an hour. If you're going like 60 miles an hour, like you're just fucked. So, yeah. But anyway. Here's an interesting one. As this was labeled here, it says fake beggars popping up all over the country. And it's a woman and kids just sitting there counting money. Before we started recording, we handed a big stack of $20 bills. Or had a big stack. Before they started recording, the people had a big stack of $20 bills there. And they're just trying to hide the fucking money now is what it is. Yeah.
Today, I seen a woman with her kids hold up a sign.
They're all over the place, man. There was one I saw up in Belden Village here, which is where my local gun shop is at. It's in the outer skirts of Canton there. And it was about probably a year or so ago. It was a black woman and a white guy, and they both had signs on either corner of the street. So basically you have like this intersection that's sort of like four-way stop essentially. So you had one over here on this corner, and you had one over there on that corner. They were sort of catty corner from each other. And saw them just sitting there with their signs, and it was like, oh yeah, homeless, anything, please help, whatever the case be. About 15 to 20 minutes later, I see him again. She's carrying this big-ass Gucci bag, and we followed them. We were actually driving in that direction, so we saw them basically walking down to where their Mercedes-Benz was sitting in a Goodwill parking lot. And I'm just like, you motherfuckers. And you wonder why people don't trust your asses.
Right. They should at least took the bus and left the Mercedes at home.
Like, it's just such scumbaggery. And the worst part of it is, it's like, there are actual people out there who do need help and stuff like that. But then you got all these stolen valor motherfuckers that are like, I'm a war vet. And it's like, okay, what war were you in? What, platoon were you in, et cetera, there. And they don't have no fucking clue what you're talking about. Like, they can't tell you anything about anything is what it is. So. But anyway. It's all just a bunch of crazy shit, though, for sure. That being said, I've been going for almost 2 hours now, so I think I'm going to call it then on this one, because my throat's starting to give out a little bit. Any last thoughts, Leo?
I think I said this last time I was on here, but I'll say it again. Start stacking up. Start buying ammo. Get all your food supplies ready. Start being prepared. Start doing those bug out bags or bug in kits. Start doing them now. Like right now. Like as soon as you get up tomorrow, start making plans.
My final thoughts of the night are going to be this final video, or at least the screen cap of it here, which is veterans holding the British flag are warned by British police. Country without a flag is a total loss. Being told, because there's pro-Palestine bullshit going on there, that if they were waving a British flag in a British country, that they are basically the worst people on earth. There's what it is. And don't think they wouldn't try this shit in America here, because they totally fucking will. And that's why you need to be armed at all times. That's why you need to be ready to fight back. It's why you need to be ready to fight tyranny every day of the week. And twice on Saturdays. Because, we are doing the Stand Your Ground Saturday chat here. But nah, for real, though. It's time to fight back, man. It's time to take this country back. It's time to save ourselves and whatever remnants can be of the United States at this point. Because we're not going to be able to save all 50 states. It's just what can we keep? What can we have? What can be salvaged from the wreckage at this point? And if that means 25, if that means 30 states, so be it. If that means even 15 or 20 states, that's what we need to save at this point. And you need to be armed. You need to be ready. You need to have everything you possibly can at a moment's notice, because you never know if today is going to be the day where you have World War III kickoff, or Civil War kickoff, or a revolution kickoff, or a bunch of terrorist attacks start in this country, and then you can't go to the fucking grocery store because now you're going to fear of another bomb attack happening in the fucking parking lot or something like that. So, yeah, be ready, be armed, be prepared, and be ready to defend yourself when the time comes, because you are your own first responder, and it's as simple as that. Any final thoughts, Corey?
I jumped in right at the end. Sorry, I had to keep. I keep having to take phone calls.
Yeah, you totally fucked up my ending, man. You had to get back in here, so I'm gonna have to give you the final thoughts then.
No, go ahead, man.
I finished. I was about to hit the end button. No, go ahead. You got final thoughts?
Stay prepared. If not, get prepared. Always stay strapped or get clapped.
Exactly. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. We'll see you all tomorrow on Honda's Gay Frog chat, as long as he does once it's into Taco Tuesday this week. But yeah, other than that, if he gives me enough advance warning he's not going to do one of these chats, I would totally take over for him, but he hasn't done that. So, but anyway, so yeah, we'll be back then. We'll be back on this channel probably Monday, because I want to do one final stream relating to why people need to vote no on issue 1 here in Ohio come Tuesday morning, because it's a shit show. It's literally child sterilization and killing kids in the womb. So,
yep. Exactly.
Doesn't need to exist here. Doesn't need to exist in Michigan, where it passed a year ago. Doesn't need to exist in any state, honestly, for that matter. And this is how you fall as a country, when you let shit like this be pushed forward into a nation. And it's as simple as that. Have a good one, y'all. Later.
They're literally